So we can see that we had 358 million in liquidations in the last 24 hours. So that was over 55,000 traders were liquidated. That's just a handy way to remind ourselves that trading is dangerous. The liquidation volume is down nearly 20%. So, in general, the markets are kind of okay. There was no traumatic event that surprised people. So, last time we were looking at the MVRV Z scores, the method that I want to use to identify the peak of the bull market in Bitcoin, because it's very accurate and precise. So it kind of says, it gives a signal that today is an extreme event, which historically has been very near the peak. And if it's the day after the peak, the price is very near the top. So I don't know of a better method than that. If anyone does know, that would be handy if you could share it. But yeah, basically, I'll be on the lookout to see if there's anything better in the meantime. So the MVRV Z score was a on-chain analytics method. It looked at the data on chain, and I mentioned that there are many others. Now, for me, ALANAU or ALANAU is my go-to man when it comes to this, because he has constantly been producing the best content for me. So we can see he's on Twitter. I'd recommend that you follow him, because then you'll get the updates. So this was 12th May. Weekly I'll be posting the CTM Bitcoin on-chain metric dashboard, so we can have a look. So this is more just to give an idea of the kind of information that we can get on chain. So as he says, the charts intend to give you insights on price action of Bitcoin, 4 charts, 2, whether and when Bitcoin is peaking in its bull phase. So that's more the question that I was interested in, and still am interested in, because you have some Bitcoin. Now the decision is, when would I sell this? There's one game plan where you say, no, I'm just going to hold this for the rest of my life, or 5-10 years anyway, because I expect it to keep going higher and higher and higher. My game plan is to hold it, but to try and get out when we have these big peaks, expecting that there's going to be something like an 80 to 90% fall after it goes over the top, after we have a mania bubble. So these methods, I'm looking for these methods to basically flag when Bitcoin is peaking in its bull phase. So this is exactly the kind of thing that I want. I'm curious as to what this is. Insights on the price action. Okay. So here we have multiple pieces of information. And so I can learn from this. So 1, the mean hash rate. The higher the mean hash rate, the higher tend to be the price of Bitcoin. I vaguely knew that. I don't know it that well. So in a way, when we had the miners being kicked out of China, we knew that, or I knew that meant that we were going to have a huge fall in the hash rate, because I think the miners lead to the hash rate. I mean, those miners have been moving all over the place, so the hash rate is again picking up. But if I knew better about the relationship between the hash rate and the price, then, you know, I would more rapidly have been able to go, oh, if the miners are moving down, then the hash rate's going to go down, and like the hash rate's going to halve or more, or fall by half or more. So I expect the price to fall, so I should get out and wait until I see the price action bottoming, something like that. But I more vaguely know that there's some connection between the hash rate and the price. I haven't done a particularly detailed study of it. By detailed study, I mean I haven't got looked at a couple of charts and seen, okay, yeah, when it's low, the price seems to be low, that kind of thing. It's not. It's quite a stochastic, a random, noisy kind of relationship, I'd imagine. 2, balance on exchanges. Increase in Bitcoin balance on exchanges indicates selling is imminent, and Bitcoin's price to drop, and vice versa. So that I'd kind of heard as well. Basically, what happens is people, say, buy Bitcoin, and then they move it onto their own wallets, onto more secure places. Because they're worried, because historically we have had major exchanges collapsing, or Bitcoin's disappearing from exchanges. Again, that was a long time ago. I think things in general should be stabler, safer now, though I could, you know, maybe in a year's time I'll be going, oh, I should have known, that was stupid. But with on-chain analytics and stuff, we can keep an eye on this. What tends to happen is people, when they buy it, they take the Bitcoin off the exchanges into cold storage, or whatever way, wherever they're storing their Bitcoin. That means that there's less Bitcoin available on the exchanges. So supply goes down. As the price is going up, demand goes up. So the combination of the supply falling and the demand going up just drives the price up. What happens, and you can see it from various charts, is that around about the time that we're approaching a top, people want to sell their Bitcoin, and they can't sell it on their own wallets. So what happens is you can see that money from wherever people had kept their Bitcoin, or Bitcoin is basically moved onto the exchanges. As he says, balance on exchanges increases, indicating selling is imminent. Because in order to sell it, you first of all have to put it on an exchange. So then you can just say, sell. So that's something, you know, we want to keep an eye on. And that we can do by looking at on-chain analytics. 3, Coinbase withdrawals. The larger the withdrawal, the higher the chance Bitcoin's price to move higher. So as US institutions are buying Bitcoin, very much like being on exchanges, Coinbase would be, the largest or one of the largest markets. So a lot of people would have their Bitcoin on Coinbase. And from Coinbase, they could withdraw it if they want to store it themselves. Or, they'd want to be adding more if they're about to sell it. The larger the withdrawal, the higher the chance Bitcoin's price to move higher. Okay. This, I had looked up adjusted ASPOR. It's a simple number, as far as I'm from my trading point of view. So in the Bitcoin's bull phase, which I believe we're in, if this metric is less than 1, it's a good time to buy the dip. So it's another piece of information. What he tends to do in his dashboard is have 6-7 things that you keep an eye on. So you go tick, 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 and you go, okay, the mean hash rate's looking fine, the balance on exchanges is looking fine. So when people are going, oh no, the prices are collapsing, you can see from these 7 numbers that most of them, if not all of them, are saying, it's okay, this is normal, don't worry about it. We keep going. Risk reserve, if this is greater than 0.02, is peaking. I think this is related to how leveraged the market is. So as the markets are going up, more and more people, the frenzy is building up. So more and more people are leveraging. And that's reflected in the reserve risk. So if the reserve risk is low, you can see actually no, the markets are fine. No, there's no frenzy going on here. If it's over 0.02, that's very clean, because I would kind of say have plots and I'd go, oh, if it's high, that's not good, or that might be a concern. But I like how he tends to give you an exact number. He had that with, I think, the Puel ratio and the various things that we looked at. But if you have a nice clean, if it's higher than this, sell. Then there's no vagueness. 1 year and huddle waves. If this is about 47%, Bitcoin is close to a peak in the bull phase. So that's another sign, another signal that we expect when we're near a peak. So as we build up this list of things, that tend to signal that we're at the peak, we can have more confidence. We can kind of go, okay, I've looked at this from many time frames, from different perspectives. Yes, things now looks like this looks more and more like a peak. That's what we're trying to get to. We want to have a nice, robust framework, so that we don't get confused by one indicator might go crazy, but if all the others are saying no, this is fine, then we should be calm. We shouldn't be particularly distressed. We should look at that as a gift, a buying opportunity. And there's more. Realized cap huddle waves. Realized huddle ratio. If this is greater than 40%, Bitcoin is peaking. Can I see it here? So this one is saying realize cap hodl waves typically in 3 waves. So this gives the description. Yeah, that's the kind of plot I was expecting. Okay. So here we can see we've only had 1 wave so far in this. Normally, so a wave would be something like this, a peak, and we're looking for peaks, a higher peak and a higher peak. Can I zoom in a bit just to, but this is another signal that people often talk about, and we have only had 1 peak so far. Number 5, the MVRV Z score. If this is greater than 7.5, Bitcoin is peaking. This is the metric that will be used to determine the exit point during the bull phase. That's exactly what I was saying as well. I probably had read this. Though I think I'd heard about this. No, I think I did actually hear about this from him. I saw it on a YouTube video where he was one of the guests, and he gave a short summary, probably of this. He talked about the 5, 6, 7 different measures that he uses and what they mean. I'll see whether I can find a link to that, or I might add it to my playlist down the line. The Pure multiple, which we've looked at. But again, I like how clean this is. You know, I would be kind of saying when the Z score is high, while he's saying if it's greater than 7.5. I'd say again, the Pure multiple, you have the red zone and the green zone, but he has a nice clean check. If it's greater than 4, Bitcoin is peaking. Finally, the net unrealized profit loss. If this is in the euphoric state, blue, Bitcoin is peaking. So there are multiple perspectives that you can look at the Bitcoin price from. I'm probably going to use the Z score. That makes it nice and easy. Yes, there are 7 different ones, but I mean, what do you do if one, like when the pi cycle said, when we had a pi cycle cross recently, and the other ones didn't signal a top, it turned out that the pi cycle top, it would have actually been good to have sold at the pi cycle top, or it would have been good to have followed that signal. But again, down the line, maybe we'll come across a period when the pi cycle says sell, and in fact, it was wrong. But what I wanted to, the point of this video was just to introduce these different measures that are out there. You know, that there are in fact, there's a myriad of signals. So, you know, and we've actually looked at a fair number of them. I think my favorite one is still this one. But, you know, we know more than most. And also, a lot of these are quite new. I mean, if you were looking at this a couple of years ago, you know, or more to the point, a couple of years ago, these things didn't exist. So in the previous bull markets, you had far less information. You were far more on your own. So that's our quick look at on-chain analytics and the various metrics that are kind of available at the moment. Maybe new ones will emerge, and when they do, I'm looking to Alan now to keep me up to date, because he is essentially the one of the lead figures at the moment. Next, I want to look at the crypto fear greed index, which is another handy signal, which I like. So what it does is look at multiple sources of information, like what the sentiment is in Twitter. So when people are getting really excited in comments in tweets about Bitcoin, you can get a sense of how optimistic and how over optimistic people are. Or I think depending on, it uses multiple measures of fear and greed, and combines them for a pretty handy, I find, useful gauge. The point of it is to kind of flag where people are, now's a good time to buy, because the fear is incredibly high. Likewise, you get a signal, now's a good time to sell, because people are far too euphoric, far too overexcited. Everyone seems to think that the price is going to go up. They've forgotten about the volatility and that kind of thing. So we'll just have a quick look at that, and we'll have a link so that you'll be able to see what it is. Then you can decide how to incorporate that in your own trading. See you then.